A minute past 2 from the studios of Adabai FM. Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of Race to 2023. My name is Dimitri Daniels and I'm being joined by the DG PDP President Campaign, the state, a former Commissioner of Information in the state as well. First, you're welcome on the program.
Thank you, Dimitri. It's nice to be here.
So today we'll be looking at the PDP campaign, the manifesto of the candidate of the PDP, and some other development within the polity in the course of the program. Let's begin this way. What is Atiku going to do differently?
He has simplified his desire to transform Nigeria in just 5-point agenda. And he's told everybody that with all the long years and range of experience he acquired in office, we're going to do everything to reunify this country. At no time in our history have we been this fragmented. At no time has unity eluded us in everything that we do. So he's ready and has actually done enough in terms of preparation and planning to ensure that all those policies that will bring our people together will be revisited. The economy is another one. If you want me to go around through,
no worry. We'll go through all the 5-point agenda. For those joining us, we're also live on Facebook. It's at Adabai FM on Facebook, so that means you can watch us from any part of the world. Let's begin to look at the 5-point agenda. The first one, my list, is to restore Nigeria's unity through equity, social justice, and cooperation. How does he hope to do that? Why I'm asking that question, one, is because I remember that there was a time one of the G5 governors, that's the governor of Benue State, Otom, did say that during some killing in Benue State, Atiku issued a statement. I read that statement where it mentioned something about people living, people of Benue living with these people, learning to accommodate these people, and the governor of Benue became angered by that statement. He did say that Atiku apologized to him, but he said Atiku should apologize to him, or apologize publicly to him. Now my question.
Atiku apologized.
He said, yeah, that he apologized, but he said that Atiku should do it openly.
How do you apologize for something you didn't do? What are the evidence?
Let me pose my question, Olorogun.
Please go ahead.
Now my question is,
I'm getting irritated by you acting on something that is not being.
Now my question is, for someone who wants to unify Nigeria, the PDP members call him the unifier.
Yes.
What credentials does it bring to the table to be able to do this?
That's a clearer question, because are you going to use Otom's subjective analysis of his own presidential candidate that he helped to select as the basis for us defining Atiku as a man, as a Nigerian who can unify all of us? I've been knowing this guy for the past 25 years, and for all I know about any individual contesting today, those major contestants in the fray of becoming the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Atiku is one human being that, except by the language he speaks, you probably won't know where he hails from. I'm a Yoruba man from Oktuwa. Atiku is from Adamawa. The truth is that everybody in PDP understands that this man has a hold everywhere in Nigeria, apart from his family life being a reflection of the entire nation. His first wife is from Ilesha here, a couple of kilometers. Mrs. Titi Abubakar gave Atiku many children that are, very, very successful individuals in their own rights today. Outside that, he served in the Nigerian custom. Outside that, he was called into politics. Outside that, he had business concern all over the country. Atiku is a very, very successful entrepreneur. And every utterance, every comment that this man has made is about the unity of the country. I mean, you recollect his relationship with MKO Abiola, in the early 90s elections, and what he did to support and bring about the presidency of MKO Abiola. How can somebody in the widest of imaginations assume that Atiku is a tribalist, or said something about a people in any part of the country that are not learning to live the way they are living? My brother, it is clear that Atiku is the most qualified of the candidates that can have a broader understanding of what Nigeria stands for and the challenges that we have faced since independence till date, and the opportunity and the possibility of bringing us together, unifying us better to focus on the vision of bringing a better and united Nigeria. I don't see any other candidate that has qualified.
Okay, now,
Yes.
you mentioned the fact that he married across a Yoruba woman and all that, but how does he, beyond all of this,
Yes.
how does he hope to fulfill this promise? The number one point on his 5 point agenda, which is to unify Nigeria.
Yes.
How does he hope to do that beyond everything that you've said?
I mean, beyond that.
What I'm asking, what I'm saying, let me break it down. Let me break down. Okay.
You already asked the question.
Okay.
Don't break it down. What I'm telling you, Dimeji, is the fact that how does he hope to do this?
Yeah.
He talks about social justice. He
Yes.
talks about equity.
Equity, yeah.
He talks about inclusivity. He talks about rallying people. There is no successful leader all over the world without, hammering on these specific issues that can unite anybody. And his body language, his personal experience, his relationship across the country will give you that confidence that this man is coming out there to do what he has done best. I told you just now, you're asking me how can. In the early 90s, 1992, he supported Abiola become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, MKO. And we're still asking me in 2022, how he intends to do that. Building bridges across the country is nothing new to Waziri Atiku Abubakar. And that's the reason why some of us out here, and that's why I told you where I hail from, that we are very confident. Nobody has that credential much more than him. As the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, many of those nationalities across the country that were in Abuja at that time were those that were recruited by Atiku Abubakar to have to play a major role in defining Nigeria. And Nigeria was at its best during Obasanjo Atiku era. Until today, the legacy of that moment still lingers. And you can see how Nigeria faltered, shattered, and ruined in the last 7.5 years. That couldn't have been what he stood for. And that's the reason why we're confident on it, that he is coming this time around as the president of the Federal Republic and CNC, that he's going to do far better than he did in the entire past. If you're talking about restructuring, if you're talking about,
We'll get to the parts of the
yes,
now. What do you say? What do you say? We know that for a fact in this particular election, and it is not just starting now. Ethnicity, religion have always played a part in Nigeria, in Nigeria's electoral process. That's one thing that politicians play up a lot to talk about religion and ethnicity. What do you say to people who say that under the Muhammadu Buhari administration, the Ashmen have given them a lot of problem, and then the PDP is feeding a candidate from the same ethnic extraction? What do you say to those people?
No nation.
How do you sell Atiku candidacy to such people?
No nation ever developed. If all you're looking about is geography, if all you're looking about is zone, if all you're
unfortunately, that's what politicians make it of Nigerian politicians.
Dimeji, if you listen to me, you get my drift.
Okay.
The truth is that, yes, it is from the Fulani ethnic group, but the truth is that the history of PDP is not the history of APC, and we have a choice to pick the best amongst us. It's like a soccer team. You pick your best to play the opponent so that you can win. And the truth is that in our party, the People's Democratic Party, the North in its entirety, if you're considering that, because my consideration is quite different, I'm going to tell you later in this interview. We have enough time to deal with this matter,
yes,
and lay it to rest for a lifetime.
Yes.
You see, in PDP, for the last from 1999 till date, they have only 2 years under Umar Musa Yaradua.
Yes.
And that was the reason why, in considering this, the PDP took a decision to throw their ticket open. And when the ticket was thrown open, there was a national convention. At the national convention, after all this, the consideration and ramifications, this man was selected as a presidential candidate. He is from the northeast, where nobody has ever become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So if you're saying that because he's a Fulani man, even in a family, I have a set of twins, identical, that are never ever the same. So if one already performed and we see that he did not perform very well, does that mean you have to exterminate the entire family? And in leadership, what is more critical is integrity, dignity, capacity, vision, ability to rally. In all these, I don't see where Atiku is lacking. And that's the reason why, to me, you're begging the issue. Even the last 60 years, we have been very sensitive to zoning, we've been sensitive to ethnicity, and it has not led us anywhere, apart from the fact that half of our population today are begging bread against the wish of God. Half of our, 51% of our youth don't have a job. There is hunger in the land, there is insecurity, and you're still considering ethnicity.
I'm not the one playing up these things.
No, you're not.
It's been done by politicians.
I'm reinforcing your position that Nigeria has suffered tremendously by the fact that you are not focusing on who the leader should be. When some people told us in 2015 that even a NEPA bill will be enough certificate for people who wants to rule the country, and in 2022 you can see what a NEPA bill certificate can do to Nigeria.
Okay,
leadership is far much important and serious. I was born shortly before independence in this country, and I have seen where it was at that time and where it is. In the areas of the Sadana of Sokoto, in the areas of Obafemi Awolowo, and that of Nnamdi Azikiwe or Para, and those very, very brilliant, intelligent people out there, it was different. I was a product of one of the outstanding visions of Obafemi Awolowo. I was born, in Oxupa, to a father who did not go to school, and we were 9. All my father's children went to school. Thank God to Awolowo. You must think about the leader as who can actually have vision for the people, build them, and become somebody who is recreating their world. Awolowo recreated our world, and that's why we succeeded today. And then beyond that, the military came, and the unitary system they left behind is a quagmire that we find ourselves. And most of these people today that you call, elites, many of them criminal-minded, they don't care about what's happening in the country. They don't care about where it's going. They care about their pocket and their children and their ability to escape anytime they want to with our resources and everything. And that's the reason why Nigeria is the bastion of thieves and criminals today, as per the reckoning of the world. And that's the reason why nothing is going on very well here. For me, ethnicity should be well considered. There must be equity and fairness in the system, but the truth is that we must always angle to be the best amongst us to lead.
Now, the statement I referred to the other time, the one issued by the presidential candidate of your party, that is Atiku Abubakar. Let me quickly read excerpt of when sudden killing happened. It's in the public domain. You can Google it, Olorogun. Let me read the excerpt of it to you, written by Atiku. When our people are well integrated into communities where they live, work, pay taxes, and raise their children, they'd be obligated to reciprocate the love and acceptance. My deepest condolences to the families that may have lost their loved one, and to the people and government of Benue State. Now, the part that angered the governor of Benue State was the fact that he said when our people are well integrated into community, referring to Fulani people now, where they live and work, pay taxes, and raise their children, they be obligated to reciprocate the love and acceptance. What do you say about a statement like this when people are just being killed?
If at the time of tragedy, nobody has been arrested, confessed to the crime, and suddenly you can identify with specificity the tribe that committed the offense, it leaves me in doubt as to the veracity of the story you just said. But you said I have the right to check.
You can Google the statement. It's in the public domain.
And if I'm wrong, I will come back to apologize to you, Dimeji. But the character I'm talking about has never been known for violence, has never actually supported a form of violence to the point of wanting to be champion of it and author of it in such a devastating situation. You're talking about what Atiku.
But has he openly condemned some of those killings? Because I remember when Deborah was killed, and you're familiar with us. There was a tweet by Atiku, whether we later whether it put it, we don't know. But that tweet was pulled down.
Please, part of what I will appeal to you in this studio is the fact that I will not react to any internet or social media discussions and debate. Unless it is established and confirmed by both parties, I will not do so. But one thing I can tell you that happened that irritated the Benue people, and we all supported all from in his anger and anguish about the termination of the lives of his people, was the fact that a week after that, Buhari and Ganduje did an Arabian Night wedding where people are being laid to rest. 89 of them buried same day. Buhari and Ganduje were having Arabian Night wedding for their children. What did Nigeria do about that? Is that not more devastating than a comment that is yet to be verified?
That comment has been verified. Like I said, you have a phone with your logo. You can Google it now.
I'm asking you the major.
Because I don't think we're talking about Buhari here.
No, then the point should not be about my candidate. And you tell
we're looking at the manifesto of your candidate.
Okay. Yes, the manifesto. You go ahead. I'm ready. What I'm telling you is that you are talking about what Atiku said. I am talking about what they did. Wait a minute.
What Buhari did.
Wait a minute. What Buhari did was he never visited Benue in the first instance. He directed his IGP to go out. I don't forget anything. He directed his IGP to visit Benue State and ensure it terminated. Was the killing not continuous and being repeated? Please don't tell me that story, because I have lived all the pains and woes of Nigeria, and I know that the truth remains that some people are just crassly insensitive, and I do not believe that.
And you think Atiku is better? You think Atiku is better?
Far better, and I can bet on that. It cannot happen on that.
Can you tell me anywhere where he openly condemned the killings in Nigeria?
Who has not condemned the killings in Nigeria? What did he say in his 5-point agenda when he was unleashing it? What was his greatest concern in this country? Security and economy. So he was so happy about these killings, and he identified them: banditry, kidnapping, Boko Haram. What exactly do you want him to say that he did not say? Our country is going down. And labeling an individual just because we want to diminish his capacity to run in the future will all be wrong. It will not. It will not gel.
Talking about security, which is also one of the 5-point agenda.
Yes.
The second one on the 5-point agenda is to establishing a strong and effective government that guarantees the safety and security of life and property. Now, insecurity in Nigeria is hydra-headed. There are so many undertones to it. There's so many. You mentioned equity, which I also think is a part of it. If you look at the population of out-of-school children, that is also a recruitment ground for some of these elements. Now, how does Atiku hope to ensure security? Should it become president?
If you read through his compendium on education, that is an overhaul, complete overhaul. I was a regional manager in the North in the middle 80s. Between 1985, 86, and 87, I roamed the entire space of the North, from Sokoto to Yola to Maiduguri. It was an open land. We saw it coming. The Almejiris were not. A lot of children were out of school. If you go to eat in Kaduna, before you get up to drink water, your food is gone, and nobody did anything. That can be blamed on the leadership. At that time, until PDP came and we were able to do a lot. PDP under Jonathan.
Did that work? The Abajere school created.
It worked if it's consistent.
But
they changed the policy when they came in 2015.
Even when Jonathan was, how effective was it? How effective was it?
It was very effective. University was created. I remember, the number of universities created in the North to ensure that it meets the requirement of
I'm talking about the Amajari schools.
I'm telling you,
now.
It worked.
I'm not talking about the universities created.
If it's been allowed to thrive, the way this was envisioned and put together by President Jonathan. That was what was led.
What do you think? Ologun, let me just a minute. Let me cut in.
I want to quote.
Let me cut in.
Cut in.
What? How do you think that your presidential candidate, should he become president, how can he deal with that culture in the north that seems to encourage the Almajiri system? Can anything be done about it?
What can be done is starting from the elementary schools, providing adequate and making a law to back the idea that any child of school age must be somewhere studying and learning, and back it up with adequate funding, which Atiku already said he was going to do. So what I'm telling you is that consistency of policy is equally very critical for any of these envisioned program that can take our people out of extreme poverty and violence and all this sectoral recruitment that can lead to shortening lives and creating mayhem in society. For us, it is important to start from the elementary and begin to make it work again. And it's something that has to be done backed up by the Constitution. From the local government level to, from the ward to local government to state, every state must be accountable in terms of how many children were put back to school. And I know that's exactly what he promised. I was there that day. Luckily for you, the person you're talking to has been in this PDP since 1998. I never left, and I have been part of the history.
But Atiku left.
And we have fought.
Atiku left. That's one of the things that is being used to campaign against him.
You see, I have debunked it 1,000 times.
Okay.
Leaving a party at a time in view of the fact that the whole process was worked against you. It's a way through which you can
Have you not gone through that process before, Ologun?
Myself?
But you did not leave the PDP.
But
I know there's a system. I know for a fact that there were times the system,
yes,
the system worked against you. But you stayed. You stayed in the party. Why did Atiku not stay?
Well, it all depends about his drift and what he.
But does that not have to do more with character?
No, it has nothing to do with character. He left, and the reason why he left is that our internal democracy was equally demised, and there's no way an individual can realize their dreams. My temperament in politics can be different from yours, and once you realize that the grass is no greener and you take your bearing, one should respect that. I was a living witness. Many people were denied. Yeah, and he took that decision to seek a greener pasture to his vision. So he has a vision to run Nigeria. And at that time, he took that decision to see what can happen. And he returned. And since he returned,
went to the APC. At some point to ACN, to AC, at some point to APC, and now back to PDP.
Like the whole lot. Tell me any candidate today that has not gone from one party to the other.
It depends. So, for instance,
No.
For instance, Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not gone from party to party. Those parties metamorphosed into other political parties.
Also, the other ones, Uncle.
Did PDP ever change? The PDP metamorphosed into another party.
Take a lesson from me. Most of the people that left for APC were equally PDP people. So don't give me that. Because if you look deeper into the current,
but you did not answer my question. Whether PDP has metamorphosed into another party since 1999, so it's still PDP. It's still PDP.
It is not true. Forget it.
PDP is still PDP.
I am telling you, this man knows exactly what happened because I'm a player in there. You're a journalist, and permit me to tell you what runs on the current that you do not know. And I'm telling you right on this platform that ACN. Bola Ahmed Tinubu let a lot of people behind just because he wanted to deal with them. And then after the ACN, he saw that power is eluding him. And then
these were parties that were created newly.
You're interjecting. Are you afraid of me saying something?
I'm not. Okay, go ahead.
Let me do.
Go ahead.
If you're not, then he jumped straight. There is no way we can capture power out here. And then he brought in the
APC?
No, the CPC in the north. He rallied a few other people. They became APC.
Yeah.
And you're telling me you never led party. You better find some defense for him.
I'm not even defending him. We're stating the facts.
That is migration.
How do you compare a man that leaves an existing party to another existing party? How do you compare it to a man that leaves a party to a newly created party?
Any party, every party at every point in time we have a survival means, and they look for how best they can rally people towards them. So what happened to A actually happened to B. Tell me any other candidate. I am telling you about integrity and honor. Nobody has it much more than Atiku.
What do you say? What would you say, Ologun, to those who, because of this, say Atiku is a man without principles that he keeps living, jumping from one political party to another? So what would you say to them?
Subjective. They don't even know the individual they're talking about, and sometimes it is character assassination. Because if you look at everybody on the table, Atiku still ranks high in every of the facet of leadership traits that you can consider. For me, it's easy. Like we spectators in soccer, you know, the World Cup is on. Oh, Jesus, why can't he score that much? And some of us cannot jump from our seat to move to the bathroom. And yet that's the way it is. We criticize people, we abuse them just because we do not know them. And politics does not permit you these days, especially in this era of cook and eat social media, for you to verify the facts about an individual. You and I here, the Meiji, some people we have, they think the world of you. And some people will think
that's a fact.
An abrasive person you don't listen to.
Let's move on to another. Let's move on to another point. Let's move on to another point, which is job creation through a prosperous economy.
Yes.
And lifting people out of poverty.
Yes.
This is not the first time that politicians in Nigeria, and I'm talking across political divides now, have said that, if I become president, if I become governor in 2 years, we're going to be lifting 10 million Nigerians, 50 million Nigerians out of poverty. Yeah. This is not the first time that has been said. Now, how do you create jobs in an economy that is, which manufacturing sector is almost non-existent, there's energy problem and all of that? How does Atiku hope to put all of this in place and then create jobs? And how many number of jobs? Does he have timelines? Because promises to have timelines, especially in governance.
He told you within the first 100 days in his first term that he's going to raise $10 billion to help youth unemployment.
How does he hope to raise the money?
I believe him.
How does he hope to raise the money?
He told you point blank how to raise the money. First, stop the stealing by APC. Stop, wastages that is in the system. Then, secondly, how can an individual under them, and Accountant General of the nation, 109 billion, and somebody sits here that they cannot raise that money? No, it is because nobody cares. I told you that we have too many criminals in the political elites club that they don't care about Nigeria again because of the ease with which money is stolen. Were you not aware as a journalist about 2.5 million barrels of oil stolen and was lying somewhere in China to be sold for several billions of naira? If you stop that, wouldn't you be able to get 10 billions for our people? And let me tell you, once you begin to act right in a way, and the tragedy of this nation is the fact that none of you ever thought about the fact that in 2015, the direct, foreign direct investment to Nigeria was almost in the 80 billion, and now you're doing less than $2 billion, and you think anything can happen. The whole world has lost confidence in Nigeria. We have failed ourselves, we have failed our citizens, and they are no longer interested. The vagaries of policies, the topsy-turvy of politicians on seriousness about everything is the reason why this country is like this. You live in that, you come from Ado.
You're talking about cross-political device?
No, wait a minute.
Okay.
You live in Ado, I live in Akure here. These days we have light for less than 3 hours of the day. I was at Cashhold here, where you have, artisans and all these people, welders, doing their thing. I sat with them for almost 8 hours. They had light for 2 hours a day. You can build a prosperous nation when you solve the problem of electricity. If Atiku says the problem of power is going to inject $10 billion into the economy within the first term and ensure that he brings about stealing at the level that is happening today, the profligacy that's laid the country prostrate, then I am very confident this man can do it. And besides, he is aware that some of us, that are with him, that believe in him, will be the first to tell him, these are your promises. If you don't fulfill it, we'll have our own day talking to him too.
Ologun,
Yes.
how do you expect Nigerians to trust an Atiku Abubakar, who was part of the 8 years of Obasanjo administration,
Yes.
where a lot was spent on the energy sector, the power sector, and there were absolutely no result. How much? Ologun, just a minute. We've had how much? We've had how much was expended on that sector, and up to now, Nigeria is still battling with energy crisis.
When there is a consistency
How do
in
you?
policy,
Okay.
when there is inconsistency in policy, a lot of what
Was 8 years not enough, Ologun, to
minute.
fix the power sector?
Wait a minute. We were doing far better.
8 years not enough
I
to fix the
remember,
power sector.
I live in Alagbaka. We were having more than 20 hours a day electricity before APC came.
But were 8 years not enough to completely fix the power sector?
It was 7.5 years not enough to completely fix the power
But
sector.
you had your 8 years before.
They had their 7.5 years.
You had your 8 years under Obasanjo. PDP had its 8 years before the 7.5 years that you're referring to.
Yes.
So what went wrong under the PDP?
So it was 7.5 years. They said we should stone them if they did not solve Nigerian problem. And many of them will be stoned before they leave this planet.
Don't let us mention Stony. We're on there. We're on there. Let us.
Okay,
let us.
no. Okay, let's stone anybody.
Yes.
It was what they asked people to do to them. It's not a deal of Israel. You know, I'm a very peaceful person, and I'm not one that goes for any violent means of change, because the best thing we can do is to put our thumb on paper and say we don't want to. And I know the people who will say they don't want APC in 2023 February.
Another point on this 5-point agenda is restructuring, and that's a serious issue. Successive government have talked about it. I remember that Goodluck Jonathan convened a national in 2014,
Yes.
and many of the ethnic groups in Nigeria have always asked for this restructuring, where the federating units are allowed to truly function as in a truly federal system of government. This is one of the things that Atiku promises in his 5-point agenda. How does he hope, knowing the kind of the understanding, because I'm talking to you now, I believe you understand some of the political undertones in the country and how this affects whatever decisions that are taken by the federal government or by anybody in power. How does he hope to achieve this? Knowing the lopsidedness in the system.
Don't worry about lopsidedness. No, there is no system that is ever perfect. It is the body language of the leader that defines what goes on from that moment on. He told you that within the first 100 days, he was going to begin to look into the 2014 National Conference with a view of, a constitutional review that can bring about restructuring to Nigeria. Not only restructuring, devolving power. I mentioned it at the beginning that they've turned Nigeria into a unitary state, and that's the reason why this desperation to take over Abuja, because they know that once Abuja is taken, they can now decide to do whatever they wanted to do. Yes, you could trust Atiku to do just that, because he actually believes just that, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And I know he understands the limitation of the past inability to do exactly what you're telling, where everybody can be brought back to believe in themselves and
believe in a country, in the system, where everybody would have a sense of belonging.
Absolutely. If we don't do that, all our other dreams of building a buoyant economy where there will be prosperity will be an illusion.
Yes.
And that's the reason why he puts in there. And we believe him, he could. He even said 100 days. Just wait and see what happens. And the truth is that I know that he owed the duty. It's a new deal with the Nigerian people that cannot be broken by anything. And he said it 1,000 times. When he came here, he was very worried at the level of underdevelopment in terms of road infrastructure around Ekiti, Ondo, Osun, and across the southwest. That was what he first promised, and the issue of electricity and power. I can guarantee you, once this is done, a new Nigeria will begin to unfold, and we can see that we can get to that destination that all of us have been aspiring to in these long years. It is doable, it is achievable, and I know we'll do it.
Before we move to the last point on the agenda,
Yes.
talking about Ondo State now, we'll get back to the last point, last point on the agenda, which is education. Now, let's talk about Ondo State. What does Ondo State stand to gain from an Atiku presidency? Because the people of Ondo State are listening to us now.
He already mentioned the sovereign wealth fund of 10 billion US dollars for the youth development. He mentioned road infrastructure that can actually change everything.
What about the seaport?
The seaport is part of his agenda, and we are very, very committed to it. And without you building road infrastructure, of what use are you going to build a seaport close to Ayetoro and other places without ensuring that they can flow whatever they get out of there into the rest of the country? That is his commitment, and Ondo State stands to benefit from quality education. That's our industry here. Ondo stands to benefit from restructuring. Ondo State stands to benefit from an economy that is buoyant. Our GDP under PDP was over 586 billion. Today it's gone to 440. The world has left us behind. They don't want to deal with an inconsistent government that is rudderless. Leadership has actually eloped. They've disappeared. They can no longer handle the mess they have created. And that's the reason why an Atiku presidency will make a lot of difference.
So, when you look at, talking about Ondo State now, when you look at Ayetoro community that you mentioned, this is a community that is almost wiped off by CISO.
Yes.
Is there anything is that something that Atiku is also looking at? Should they become president?
Of course, the environmental issue is the most critical in the world today. Front burner for every nation, because the climate.
Are you just saying that, or
no.
Is he aware of some of this?
Maybe.
Or you're just saying it, or you're just saying it because you are the DJ campaign PDP.
No,
you're just saying it.
No, everybody knows me from my days at Ife until you were here when I was Commissioner for Information and Orientation and Mobilization. I don't say what I mean. And anything that I say is what you can hold me accountable for in the future. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first to tell you, Dimeji, I'm sorry. I actually misinformed you, and I want you to forgive me. The truth is that I believe in what I'm saying, and I can be held accountable for it in the nearest future. And that's the way it is. For me, Ondo State stands to benefit from Atiku's presidency much more than anything else, because they've been here. The PCC has been here for how many years now? It's going to.
You mean Ondo State?
Yes, in Ondo State. And a few things. I'll give credit to Akredolu in one or two areas. His urban renewal is outstanding. He provided leadership, and he secured all of us. At least we can sleep with one and a half eyes open. And it is because of his leadership that all these things were accomplished. But in the areas of education, in the areas of infrastructure, in the areas of, it's a long walk to.
Now, talking about education, which is a point, which is one of the which features prominently on the 5-point agenda.
Yes.
There are so many issues in the education sector. One of such is incessant strikes by not just universities but polytechnics as well. What is Atiku's plan in this regard? Because strikes did not just start; it's been on for a very long time in Nigeria, and Nigerians are yearning, especially students and those in the education sector, especially the university and polytechnic, to see an end to this thing in the education sector.
He told you once you stop the stealing that APC has institutionalized. He told you that once you
are you saying it was also stealing that caused strikes under the PDP? Because we're talking about strikes now.
I mean, we were not. There was no strike that lasted 8 years under PDP.
8 years? No,
8 months. I'm sorry.
There were also strikes under PDP.
There were strikes.
It keeps getting worse, but there were strikes that lasted months. Because I remember I was in the university at that time, and it cost me almost a year.
Yes.
Yes, I would have graduated. I would have graduated almost a year earlier than I graduated.
You're interrupting my thought process. And we not.
But we have to put the facts on the table.
Yeah, you better. The facts must be on the table. It has never.
Because
happened.
I was a student.
You know that there was never a time in the history of this nation where ASU would be on strike for 8 months.
There were more than 6 months. Under Obasanjo, there were more than 6 months. Olorogun, you have not addressed that. Under Obasanjo, There were ASU was on strike.
No,
ASU was on strike for more than 6 months because
it's not true.
You can Google it.
Please do Google it.
No, I'm telling you because I'm telling you because I was in the system. I was a student when Obasanjo was president. So I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what happened. No, I'm just saying. You mentioned Olorogo. I know now. I'm not saying that. Olorogo, you mentioned Olorogo. You are comparing. You're doing the comparison. You mentioned Olorogo. Just a minute. You said stealing, and I said, was it stealing that was responsible for strikes under the PDP?
Well, I didn't the fact that there were no issue of resource management under a PDP. There must be stupid. I'm not stupid at all. There were, but the quantum is different. Here is a certification of quantum stealing that has gone, digital.
So what's the solution to this?
The solution is stop the stealing. Stop stealing our oil, and stop. Ensuring that a single individual does not sign away 109 billion. How much money do you need to put ASU back? A nation that does not care about education is not producing a future for its younger generation. And the reason why we're killing this country today, tomorrow, and forever is the fact that we don't care. You cannot just sit out here to begin to justify such a dastardly act against children yet unborn by the attitude of the minister of the attitude of labor and productivity, of the minister of labor and productivity, and the crass insensitivity of the
I've not justified. I've not justified anything.
The justification is that you're comparing.
I have not justified. You started the comparison. I'm just doing my job. You started the comparison, and I'm here to ask you questions. I'm here to lay the facts bare. Now going forward, now beyond strikes, beyond university education, there are also other sectors of the education sector. Now let's talk about post-primary and primary. What are your plans? And then one other thing, I read in the manifesto of the APC as well, where the presidential candidate of the APC mentioned something about student loan. Are there any plans like that?
Who, you said the APC? In
the manifesto of Tinubu, he mentioned about putting in place a student loan. Is there anything like that?
Why has it not done that in the 20s?
Olorogo, is there any Olorogo, answer the question. Is there anything like that in the PDP manifesto? Okay.
Of course. Putting enough resources will encourage the federal government under Atiku to continue to subsidize education, not only for the students, but for the lecturers, and providing adequate training to ensure that we provide quality education to our people. So, in a real fact,
go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. In a real fact, the reality of this is that unless we free resources and ensure that at least 40% of what is generated in the country is driven towards education, we'll continue to have this mediocrity. Look, you don't have doctors anymore, they've all left, those who trained. You don't have engineers because they found greener pastures. Most of the young generation of people within the last 10, 15 years don't want to have anything to do with Nigeria. I'm telling you, Dimeji, but for the fact that you're in this job and you're growing, you probably must have found yourself somewhere else too. The country is no longer, a place where people can be all they want to be. They have diminished everything that we have to the point that people are no longer interested in being citizens. So we must return, we must reverse our steps and begin to build quality education that can actually hold this country to the future and compete with the rest of the world.
Olorogo, now, if you look at 2023 presidential election, what do you think are the factors that would determine where the pendulum swings in 2023?
Come again.
What do you think are the factors that would determine where the pendulum swings in 2023 presidential election?
The factor is acceptability of the candidate. Number 2 is the fact that who knows better amongst them. Number 3, integrity and character. Number 4, vision. And all this will come to play in 2023 when people are voting. And I can assure you PDP will. And then, how about past performance? Past performance. What happened between 1999 and 2015?
When Atiku was number 2, he was not number 1.
Yes, wait a minute. Yes, but it's a precedent.
The buck stopped on Obasanjo's table.
Forget about that. Buck stops means that certain final decisions will be taken by him, like going to war and taking national decisions. When it comes to daily administration, it is not only the president that functions. Why do you have the permanent secretary? Why do you have the chief of staff? Why do you have the people supporting him on daily basis? Don't talk of the vice president, who is the chairman of the economic summit that actually
Economic Council, National Economic Council.
Yes, National Economic Council. That actually transformed the country from a debtor nation to a nation with high credit across the world.
You mean the debt relief sought up by Obasanjo?
You say what?
You mean the debt relief sought by Obasanjo?
Not only debt relief granted, and that we were.
No, that's what I'm saying.
We were debt
by the president at the time.
Yes, and Atiku.
But you seem to be ascribing it to the vice president now.
I'm not to the presidency of
okay, it's the presidency now. It's the presidency, no longer. It's the presidency now.
Okay. And there never been a time when anybody, and if anybody did it wrong, and you see, you said we should fact check certain things, and that's what we have fact checked. You know, the strike you were talking about under Obasanjo was between July and December. It wasn't 8 months. So please go back to Google and recheck properly.
I said 6 months. I never said 8 months.
But there was
do you want an off-air dub of this? I said 6 months. I never said 8 months. I said 6 months of Obasanjo. So I was correct.
So I was correct. More than 8 months.
I said 6 months. I never said it was more. I said 6 months. Yes, so I was correct. I said I was in the.
Thank God.
I was in the school.
And I'm correct.
No, I was correct from the broad goal.
This is the longest strike.
No, you're correct. Yeah.
I'm saying that both of us should actually admonish ourselves. Those records are not the pride of a nation. And don't bring it up again. All we are saying is that never again must it happen in our country. And I know it cannot happen on that.
What did it just start?
You say what?
Did it just start? Did it start with the APC?
That
was my question.
An end must be put to it. And that's exactly what you must admit that an end must be put to it.
That was my question initially.
And that is
how do we put an end to it?
That is the reason why Atiku's presidency is the only thing that can salvage Nigeria at this moment. So I know fully well that by track record, and I've told you, and the records are there. A rebased economy that was the largest in Africa, and we are talking about foreign direct investment. I've told you the mathematics of today. Over 50% of Nigerians live under the poverty line. 7 million people in IDP, 7,500 people murdered in the Northeast. How can we take pride in such things?
What would you say going forward now?
Yes.
What would you say to INEC? Are you satisfied with the preparation so far?
Preparation is different from execution. It's like saying our team is practicing. But I know for what they have done within these past few months, I can see a lot of improvement in what has happened. And they are actually befriending technology in order to bring out the best. You and I must agree on that with the beavers,
yes,
and a couple of other innovation. We might as well, have a little confidence in them and support them. They need our support, you and I. We must review the voters register and clean out all those underage voters and ensure that the preparation is adequate for us to actually have a credible election.
Now, talking about the G5 governors in your party, the Wike, the Iguain, Makinde, Otom, and all of them. Now, is the PDP not bothered?
The truth is,
you know why I'm asking you that question? Because if you look at all these governors, they are strategically placed. For instance, Wike is in the south, which is a PDP stronghold. Ikpeasu and Iguain in the southeast, which is another PDP stronghold. And you have the candidates of the Labour Party now coming out from the southeast. We'll get to that point. We still have enough time to do that now. And then you have Autumn in the north central. Okay, it's in southwest. So are you not? Is the PDP not bothered, Olorogun?
You see, no party in the whole world is immune to disagreement and some level of crisis that has happened in our own. But as a statistician and as a strategist, I look at my paper all the time and I can tell you, yes, it's worrisome, and I'm still hopeful
that will be resolved.
There will be resolution before the elections, and that we all be coming together, back together as brothers. I'm not used to, and I will not discuss individuals on radio, but I know fully well that we must pay attention to something, especially political leaders, that our interest is not above the ordinary man on the street. Our interest should not be above the constitution of the party in which we pledge to serve. Our interest should not be above the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I can only admonish people to have a rethink as to what is more important. Are they happy the way Nigeria is today? If they are not, what is the only alternative available? Is to just, retire the APC and bring out a new change that can usher in hope for, the majority of our people. That is far more important. And we have answered this question.
Olorogun, let me quickly ask you because of our time. Is it too much for the PDP to sacrifice IU?
You sacrifice your constitution, you sacrifice the Constitution of the Federal Republic, you sacrifice individual rights, you sacrifice, by laying a very tragic example for the future. Number one, is it democracy or arbitrariness and absolutism that should be important to all of us? I've told you what is the priority at this moment. There's nobody you ask with a heart that will not say the priority is to secure our nation, to grow economically, to bring back prosperity to this depressed and unfortunate nation, and that's exactly what we all must begin to think about today. But I know along the line there will be a change of heart, because what actually unites us is far much more than what is dividing us. And these are brothers. They are not enemies. But sometimes they want something to be done just, the way they see it. But then, how about the consequences? Whatever decision we take, we have a consequence. You see, you will say to me, Dimeji,
do you think, Olorogun, think it's fair to the South, where the candidate of your party is from the north, and the national chairman of your party is also from the north? It's
just for a little while. And that
is it fair to the South?
What I'm saying is that if you hear me out,
you're campaigning to Southerners now. They're listening to us.
Are you asking for me to have the last word on the question you asked me?
Yes,
so
please
let
go
me
ahead.
answer it. The truth is that it is not the very first time that a president will come from the South and you have the chairman coming from the South. But what is at hand today is preparation for an election that comes in within less than 87 days. And the critical point is that those things will be resolved. There is always a midterm convention where things will be sorted out and everybody will be moved around, and we have respect for the zonal for the zonal policy of the party. At this time, which is more important, I want to ask you, and our viewers there understand that what is more important is kicking APC in the groin and getting them out of the way for Nigeria to develop.
Why then? Because I've listened to Wike say that Atiku made him a promise that IU would step down. Why did Atiku do that? If there was any truth to what Wike said.
I wasn't there. Neither will I make comments on something I'm not privy to. The way you go on.
You don't want to say anything about it?
I said I was not there, and I cannot. Neither can I say Atiku made a promise. Neither will I say Wike did not hear well. But is that far more important than what Nigeria is going through?
On a final note now.
Those are two individuals. Me and Dimeji, Aburo Miloje, made you a promise. And then suddenly nobody was there, and you asked the third party to be commenting on what we did in the corners of our room. Does he comply with the constitution? Hold on a second.
Let me ask you this question. Because of our time. Because of our time. On the final note now.
Gone.
It was almost gone. like I said,
I'm ready to wrestle you. We're just beginning.
We're just starting.
Like
I said,
yes.
that the Southeast is known as the PDP stronghold, the same as the South. Now you have someone like Wike. Already the what's it called now? Cross River State is being ruled by APC, and you have Wike working against the candidate of the PDP from River State, that is the South. And if you look at the number of votes that come from River State is huge, very huge. Definitely. And then let's look at the Southeast as well, where the candidate of the Labour Party, who came from Labour, joined your party. Who came from ABGA, joined your party, was the running mate to your candidate in 2019, and then left your party, went to Labour. Now, from the Southeast, are you not bothered that this will affect whatever vote you'll be getting from these two geopolitical zones?
No. There are certain strategic figures I won't give to you here because we're discussing, but our party is aware of the challenges we have and we're working very hard. I'm glad you said it is APC that is ruling in Cross River. They are not governing.
They have been led by.
No, they are ruling. They are not governing.
Don't take my word out of the context.
Okay, no, I know. Don't be afraid.
The governor. No, I'm not afraid.
Don't be afraid.
The governor is still ruling. He's still ruling.
No, he's ruling there.
The governor in Cross River
State. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, the governor in River State.
He's not governing.
Is
and the majority of the people. The majority of the people in Cross Rivers are praying to the day they will get to the ballot and say goodbye to him. And in all the other places you think PDP is losing, the vote of the governor is not the vote of the people. You may wish to know that. So the truth is that a governor is...
Are you saying Wike is not firmly in charge in River State?
I mean, I will not mention anybody's name, but the truth is
I'm just asking
we will get adequate votes in Rivers.
Because what we hear is that many of the most of the Atiku men in River State are not even in charge of the structure in River State. That Wike, so? I'm just asking you. I'm asking to either confirm or deny it.
The truth is, I'm not confirming anything, neither am I denying anything.
Okay.
The reality of it is that I have mentioned it to you. The vote of the governor is not the vote of the people. Remember, this is about beavers. It's not about writing, writing ballots and announcing results anymore. Individuals will vote in a secret, open ballot, system, and it will be counted. Until the votes are counted, you don't know who is in charge, because the heart of man is deep enough to be able to conceal his secrets, and it's going to unfold when the election is held. I can guarantee you something, that we're working very hard within the confines of what is achievable to actually win those places, and you'll be surprised. I am telling you, this is a learning phase in the history of our party, and we shall overcome at the appointed time. Don't get carried away by names. Get carried away about the message of the presidential candidate, his willingness to change Nigeria and to bring a better,
time is past. I'm being told now. I'm being told that we have to go because
I understand. About news at 3, and I'm looking forward to coming back here.
I'll definitely bring you back.
Bring me back.
Yes, it's always very interesting. It's always very interesting to have you. Thank you very much, Olorogun. DG, PDP Presidential Campaign in Ondo State. Olorogun Ediola Officer, thank you for coming on today's edition of Race to 2023. My name is Dweji Tanes, and this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of the program. Good afternoon, thank you for listening. Yeah.